scariest thing about movie monsters are their teeth. Because usually it means you're about to be eaten alive. And what could possibly be worse than that? And of all the giant things with teeth, it's the mindless killing machines. You know, the T-Rex, or Great White, or various other beast-like horrors that have only a single instinctual drive to eat anything and everything they can sink their teeth into. Speaking of insatiable appetites, what about humans? Do you ever wonder if maybe humanity, taken as a whole, is one of these great ravenous beasts for whom enough is never enough? Are you hungry for a scary story, partner? Boy, do I have a treat for I went to a Halloween party last week where there were bowls of candy and chocolate and skull and bone shaped cheese puffs everywhere. Now, when I arrived, I was a dignified gentleman. I paid my respect to the hosts. I made small talk with the guests. But as the night wore on and my hand found its way into that bowl of sugar, and I popped the first delectable piece of chocolate into my mouth and washed it away with that first goblet of wine, it was as if the demons of the night possessed me.
And I transformed into this ravenous sugar fiend, throwing all self-respect to the wind and consuming everything in sight.
And it's not just on Halloween. It seems to happen anytime I get a big tub of ice cream or a big bowl full of popcorn when I'm watching my favorite scary movies.
So why do I get so wound up, partner? Is this a bug or a feature in my OS? Maybe I'm just a simple creature taking cues from my environment. Imagine we are the simplest of creatures, little more than mouths on feet. Now, what do we eat, partner? Naturally, we eat candy corn. And for a simple organism like this, there are two questions that we have to answer. First, when should we seek food? And how much do we eat when we find it? Now, if food was predictable and evenly distributed, you could survive on a pretty basic strategy. Seek when you're hungry, and eat until you're full. But reality isn't like that, right? Food is unpredictable, and it's concentrated in certain places, right? Mainly in organisms that have already done all the hard work of gathering it up for themselves. So in this world, maybe a better strategy is to seek food nearly always. And when you find food, eat it until it's gone. When you were a child, in your T-Rex costume, did you get demotivated after visiting the first few houses? Right? Knowing that any future winnings were basically pointless because at the end of the night, your parents were just going to come into your room and say, pick 10 pieces, and that's it. Or did stuffing every fistful of candy into your jack-o'-lantern motivate you? Did it wind you up and send you skipping along down the street to the next well-decorated house on the block? This is a positive feedback loop, where finding one piece of food, or one reward, motivates us to do more food-seeking or reward-seeking behavior. And in an environment of plenty, this ensures that we eat everything around. Because after all, partner, winter is coming. Some form of this simple feeding strategy exists in all animals, from C. elegans, the lowly, disgusting roundworm, all the way up the tree of life to you and I. Now, this is a complex process, but none of it happens without the chemical dopamine. The same chemical behind all addiction, or as a couple prominent researchers have eloquently put it, the molecule of more. This fake candy corn is made mostly of real corn. It's just we've stripped out all of the fiber and stuff that you can't digest into basically pure corn syrup, pure sugar. And things like this are everywhere now. Because of industrial agriculture, right? Scarcity is a thing of the past. There's no feast or famine anymore. Our society is like a giant Halloween party, and every Walmart or McDonald's or 7-Eleven is basically a giant bowl of candy sitting out in the middle of the street that any one of us can just mosey up to and eat out of like a trough. Which many of us do because these highly palatable foods, right, sodas and snack foods and fast foods, send our dopamine system into a frenzy. And if we reinforce those behaviors too much, it leads to addictions.
I'm feeling happy.
These things are definitely treats. But when you think about it, they're also tricks. And these snack companies are luring us into buying things and consuming more than we actually need, so that they can get their dopamine fix when they see their profits rise.
Good feelings gone.
So up until now, I've talked about dopamine in the context of food, and how getting food motivates us to do more food-seeking behavior. But the scary part is that this dopamine system is general purpose, which means it works the same way when we crave anything. Anything that we perceive as bringing value or increasing our lot in life, right? Shoes, furniture, games, Pokemon trading cards, cars if you can afford it, vacation homes, right? Whatever it is, it's fueled by dopamine. And when you get one, it only satisfies you for a short time, and then your system tells you to go do that thing again, right? This is why Mick Jagger can't get no satisfaction. It's why Amazon can't stop eating up all of the competition. And it's why they will never stop making Batman sequels. All of this motivation to produce and consume is driven by this very basic, very primitive mandate that is designed to prevent us from starving. It's why we find ourselves living in a consumer society, addicted to stuff, and we can't stop consuming even though we know that it's driving us to the brink of self-annihilation. You know, partner, we are all animals. How do we stop from becoming monsters? When humanity discovered fossil fuels, we hit the jackpot, and we have been binging on cheap energy to make cheap food and cheap products ever since. And a lot of great things came out of that process, but a culture of impulse control is definitely not one of them. And I'm not going to lie, it is truly a pleasure living in an on-demand economy where I can get basically anything that I want with the push of a button. But is it also a bit scary knowing that none of those things that I could seek out will ever give me the satisfaction that I ultimately desire. Or maybe that's part of the trick. Because when you think about it, getting exactly what you want, exactly when you want it, is really not that much fun. It's much better to be surprised, or to occasionally stumble across a great glorious feast, like on Halloween, where for at least one night out of the year, under the light of a full moon, it is totally acceptable and even encouraged to shed our human skin
and be monsters. So happy Halloween, partner. I'll see you next time on the Almond Joy of Thinking. How about that one? Oh, what a delicious pun.
What's your problem? I said, what's your problem?